Is a mother's love actually enough to justify a cold-blooded murder? Or is Maggie Driscoll just the finest actress to ever set foot on the cobbles? That is the million-pound question hanging over Weatherfield right now, and honestly, the answer might be way darker than any of us originally thought. We've seen plenty of secrets on this street over the years, but the way Maggie's house of cards is folding right now feels different. It feels final. You have to wonder, was this really just a moment of madness at the top of the stairs? Or are we looking at a much more calculated survival instinct? Stick around, because we are diving deep into the psychological wreckage of the Driscoll family and the terrifying mental spiral of young Sam Blakeman that is leaving fans absolutely chilled. Let's start with the sheer nerve of Megan Walsh. This woman is currently sitting in a prison cell for grooming a student, yet she is still pulling the strings like a seasoned puppet master. It's a classic predator move, isn't it? When you're backed into a corner, you find someone else's corner, and you light it on fire. By calling Maggie from prison and demanding that she force Will to retract his statement, Megan isn't just trying to get out of jail. She's engaging in total psychological war. Why is she doing this now? Well, think about it. It's pure desperation. She knows the legal net is closing in, and her only hope is to destroy the credibility of the victim, Will. But notice the choice of target. She didn't go for Will directly this time. She went for the matriarch. Megan understands that in a family like the Driscolls, the mother is the load-bearing wall. If you crack her, the whole house falls down. Maggie's internal state during that phone call must have been pure, unadulterated terror. Imagine carrying a corpse on your back for years, thinking you've finally found a safe place to bury it, only for a convicted groomer to start digging it up with a smile in her voice. Maggie isn't just afraid of prison. She's afraid of losing that saintly mother image she's worked so hard to build. I see this as a battle between two very different types of evil. You have Megan's overt, predatory evil versus Maggie's reactive, supposedly accidental evil. The show is really asking us who is worse. Is it the person who groomed a child, or the person who killed a man and let her family believe a lie for decades? It's a brilliant, murky gray area that reframes Maggie from a protective mother into a woman who is essentially a fugitive in her own living room. Personally, I think we are all underestimating Megan here. Some might see her blackmail as a last-ditch effort, but it shows a level of intelligence that makes her one of the most dangerous villains Corey has had in ages. She didn't just find out about the murder. She's been sitting on it, waiting for the perfect moment to weaponize it. That is cold. It's all about control. Megan has lost her physical freedom, so she's attempting to exert control over Maggie's life to compensate. For Maggie, the trauma of the original event, the row with Alan, is being triggered and relived all over again. She is stuck in a freeze response, which is why she initially tried to push for Will to move away. She's just trying to run away from a ghost. Then we have the moment Maggie finally cracked and told Ben the truth. That was some of the most uncomfortable television we've seen lately, wasn't it? She didn't just find Alan at the bottom of the stairs. She put him there. The detail that Finley witnessed the argument is the real kicker here. It means this wasn't just a secret between Maggie and her conscience. It was a rot that had already started spreading through her children. Maggie chose to confess because she realized she couldn't win. If she forced Will to lie, she'd be destroying the boy to save herself. By telling Ben, she's choosing what she thinks is the lesser of two evils, but she's still nuking her relationship with her son. This wasn't some selfless act of honesty. It was a tactical retreat because the blackmail from Megan left her with 0 moves left on the board. Ben's reaction, the heartbreak and the devastation, isn't just about his dad being killed. It's about the total destruction of his entire reality. Every hug, every "I love you" from his mother for the last several years is now tainted. He now knows she's a killer who looked him in the eye and lied every single day. We really need to look at those stairs as a metaphor. In soaps, the fall down the stairs is usually a trope for an accidental death that conveniently removes a problem. But by having Maggie admit she pushed him slightly, the show is turning that trope on its head. It's forcing us to face the fact that there are no slight pushes when a life is on the line. It's a deconstruction of the accidental soap death we see so often. Honestly, I disagree with the fans who are starting to feel sorry for Maggie. Yes, she says her marriage was never happy, But does that give you a license to kill someone and then play the victim for 10 years? The fact that she checked herself into a hotel right after feels like another performance to me. It's a way to make people come to her and offer comfort instead of having to face the police. Ben is experiencing a classic betrayal trauma. This is his second major blow after the Jim McDonald secret. His identity is tied to being a Driscoll, and the Driscolls are now revealed to be built on a foundation of homicide and silence. Maggie, on the other hand, is probably feeling a strange sense of relief. The secret-keeping part of her brain can finally rest, even if the survival part is now in overdrive. And what about the revelation that Finley knew the truth and even told Melanie? That changes everything. This means the murder secret was already a currency being traded behind Ben's back. Finley's silence is arguably just as damaging as Maggie's action.
Why didn't he tell Ben?
It was likely the immense pressure of family loyalty, that toxic trait we see over and over in soap families. Melanie's role as a secondary blackmailer shows that Maggie was never really safe. She was just waiting for the highest bidder to come along. Imagine being Ben and realizing your brother, the person you're supposed to trust most, knew your father was murdered by your mother and said nothing. The isolation he must feel right now is staggering. He isn't just losing a mother, he's losing his entire family history. The Driscoll family is a perfect example of how trauma, when you leave it alone, turns into a weapon. The murder wasn't the end of the story. It was the seed. Everything that happened after, the grooming, the move to Weatherfield, the lies, all grew from that one moment at the top of the stairs. I'm actually most curious about Finley. Is he a victim of his mother's manipulation, or is he a mini version of her? To witness something like that and keep it quiet for years requires a very specific and maybe very dark kind of mental strength. Melanie and Megan are both using Maggie's guilt as a form of social currency. It's a parasitic relationship. They don't want Maggie to go to jail. They want her to be their puppet. This is why the truth coming out is actually the worst thing that could happen to the blackmailers. They've lost all their leverage. While the Driscolls are dealing with the ghosts of the past, Sam Blakeman is being haunted by the ghosts of the present. His mental health nosedive is one of the most heartbreaking things Corey has done in years. The use of imaginary scenes and hallucinations is a bold choice that puts us right inside Sam's fracturing mind. Why is he hallucinating Will Driscoll? It's not just random. Sam was the one who spoke up about Megan's grooming, and he was bullied into silence for it. His brain is now projecting Will as a monster because Sam feels a deep sense of guilt and fear. He blames himself for ruining Will's life, even though he actually saved him. His mind is literally punishing him for his own bravery. That scene in the bistro where Sam hears Nick and Toya saying they are ashamed of him is just gut-wrenching. We know they aren't saying that, they were just talking about wine orders, but to Sam, his worst fears are being broadcast back to him through his own ears. That level of isolation is paralyzing. He truly believes he is on his own. I think Sam's broken telescope is the perfect metaphor for what's happening. A telescope is meant to help you see things clearly from a distance. By smashing it, Sam has symbolically destroyed his ability to see the world as it really is. He isn't looking at the stars anymore. He's looking into a void. The show is doing a fantastic job showing that trauma doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like paranoia, and sometimes it looks like a complete break from reality. Sam's story is a sobering reminder that kids process adult crimes like grooming in ways that can be completely debilitating. This is a classic case of post-traumatic stress turning into auditory and visual hallucinations. Sam is splitting. Part of him knows Megan is the villain, but another part, the part that was bullied, has internalized the idea that he is the problem. His brain is trying to protect him by preparing him for an attack from Will that isn't even coming. Now, we have to talk about that explosive discovery of the tracking device in Sam's bag. This is where the story shifts from a mental health drama to a potential thriller. If the tracking device is real, it suggests that Sam isn't just imagining things. He might actually be in danger. Who would put it there? Could it be Megan's associates? Or maybe someone we haven't even thought of yet? But if it's not real, if it's just another hallucination, then Sam has reached a point of no return where his mind is creating physical objects to justify his fear. Roy Cropper finding Sam clutching that device is such a touching moment. Roy is the most logical, grounded person on the street. If even Roy can't talk Sam down, we know the situation is desperate. But then we get that chilling spoiler. Roy tells Sam, "Trust no one." Is that really Roy, or is that Sam's brain using Roy's voice to validate his paranoia? The tracking device represents the ultimate loss of privacy and safety. For a boy who already feels watched and judged by imaginary versions of his family, a literal tracking device is the physical version of being hunted. It bridges the gap between his internal fears and the outside world. I suspect the tracking device is real, but Roy's advice is a hallucination. It's the perfect twist. It grounds the danger in reality, while keeping the focus on Sam's mental state. It makes the audience question everything, just like Sam is doing. He is experiencing hypervigilance. He is constantly looking over his shoulder because his threat detection system is broken. Every sound is a slammed door. Every conversation is about him. Every person is a potential spy. He is trapped in a feedback loop of fear, and just when you thought things couldn't get more complicated, we have that shocking reading from Summer's journal. George finding a page describing putting a gun to Theo's head is a massive red flag. Summer has always been the good girl, the one who holds everything together. To see that kind of violent imagery in her private thoughts suggests she is carrying a darkness that rivals even Maggie's. Is she a suspect in Theo's death? The police certainly seem to think so, as Kit is closing in. Summer's uncomfortable shift when Kit mentions they're close to finding the killer tells us everything we need to know. She isn't just worried, she's guilty of something. Whether it's the murder itself or just knowing who did it, she is a girl on the edge of a breakdown. The show is creating a parallel between Maggie and Summer. Both are protectors who may have gone way too far. Both are defined by their secrets. It's a recurring theme this month. The price of silence is always higher than the price of the truth. I don't think Summer actually killed Theo, though. I think she's a red herring. However, the fact that she's writing about guns in her journal shows that the stress of life in Weatherfield has finally pushed her into a very dark place. Todd telling her to get as far away as possible is probably the best advice she's ever received. Summer is likely using her journal as a release for her anger, but the intensity of the imagery suggests a dissociative state. She is imagining herself as a different, more powerful person to cope with her feelings of helplessness. Things are getting significantly worse before they get better. Maggie is in a hotel, Ben is livid, and the Driscoll family is effectively dead. Megan Walsh is still a threat from behind bars, and Sam is wandering the streets hearing voices. I predict that Maggie's hotel stay won't last long. The police are going to get involved. As for Sam, I think the tracking device will lead to a major confrontation. If it is real, whoever put it there is going to come looking for it. This could put Sam in actual physical danger just as he's losing his grip on reality. I wouldn't be surprised if Roy Cropper ends up being the one to save him, but at a great personal cost. Roy's own history of being falsely accused makes him the perfect protector for a boy everyone thinks is losing it. And Summer? She will try to flee to that university abroad, but Kit will stop her at the airport. It's a classic soap trope, but with the journal evidence, it's going to be a high-stakes, will she or won't she moment. Now, I want to hear from you. This storyline has really divided the fans, and I want to get your take on a couple of things. First, is Maggie Driscoll a victim of circumstance or a cold-hearted killer? Do you believe her push was truly slight and accidental, or was she looking for a way out of a miserable marriage and took it? Does the fact that she's been a good mother since then make up for the lie? And what about Sam's tracking device? Do you think it's a real physical threat planted by Megan's cronies, or is it the ultimate sign that Sam has completely lost touch with reality? And do you think Roy's trust no one advice is a hallucination or a real warning? The drama on Coronation Street is reaching a fever pitch, and we are here for every single second of it. Before we wrap up, we have to acknowledge some heavy real-world news that adds a layer of sadness to these episodes. The passing of Alan Rothwell, who played the iconic David Barlow, feels like a somber backdrop to a week centered on family legacies and tragic ends. David Barlow was an original cast member, appearing in the very first episode back in 1960. His character was part of the foundation of the street. To have his real-life portrayer pass away at age 89 while the show is exploring the death of a father secret with the Driscolls is a strange, sad coincidence. It reminds us that Coronation Street isn't just a show, it's a multi-generational history. For longtime fans, seeing David Barlow in the headlines brings back memories of the 1960s episodes. It creates a bridge between the show's past and its present. While we are shocked by Maggie's secret about Alan, we are also mourning a piece of the show's actual history. I see this as a moment of meta-commentary. The show is currently obsessed with the past, Maggie's secret, Tim's history of abuse, the Jim McDonald retcon. The death of an original cast member reminds us that the past in Corey is a living, breathing thing. The characters on screen today are walking in the footsteps of legends like Alan Rothwell. The tribute from the Coronation Street team was a class act. It's important for the show to honor its roots, especially when the current storylines are so focused on tearing down family icons. For the audience, this creates a nostalgia trigger. We are being asked to think about the Barlows, the ultimate Corey family, while watching the Driscoll family implode. It highlights the cycle of drama that has kept this show running for over 60 years. Even in the darkest storylines, the Corey fans on Reddit manage to find the humor, and we have to highlight some of the fan reactions. The fans are really leaning into the absurdity of Maggie's forlorn, sad walk, and her "it was only one whittle murder" attitude. It shows that the audience is aware of the soap tropes. They see Maggie's saintly performance for exactly what it is. There is a genuine appreciation for the scenes between Steve, Tim, and Will. After all the darkness of the grooming storyline, seeing two unlikely uncles take a kid under their wing provides the emotional breather the audience needs. It reminds us that even when mothers are killers and teachers are predators, there is still community on the street. The Reddit community acts like a Greek chorus for the show. They call out the plot-convenient contraband mobile phones and the pantomime villain, hallucinations of Sam. They keep the show grounded by pointing out the cracks in the logic, while still being deeply invested in the characters. I love the Egypt commentary. The addition of the Driscolls has brought a new linguistic flavor to the street, and it's these small details that make the world feel lived in. Even in a script about murder and madness, you need those human touches. Humor is a defense mechanism. The fans use jokes about 80s Kevin Webster, mustaches, and Aztec camera songs in the Rovers to process the very real and heavy topics of grooming and homicide. It's how we, as an audience, stay engaged without being completely overwhelmed by the trauma. Maggie checking into the Chariot Square Hotel is more than just a change of scenery. It's a symbolic exile. In Corey, characters go to the Chariot Square when they can no longer face their neighbors. It's the waiting room before a major exit or a major arrest. Maggie telling Debbie that she's lied to Ben his entire life is the final admission of defeat. She has nowhere else to go. There is a profound loneliness in that hotel room. Maggie has protected her family by lying, but in doing so, she's ensured that she can never truly be part of it again. The bond she risked breaking is now shattered beyond repair. This is a tragic irony. Maggie wanted to move to Scotland to be a family again, but the very secret she was trying to protect was the thing that guaranteed she'd end up alone in a hotel room in Salford. The show really needs to follow through on this. If Maggie is forgiven too quickly, it cheapens the weight of the murder. We need to see her face the consequences, even if she didn't mean to kill him.